Hey there. As I'm sure you read through the title, I thought it'd be fun to try and redesign some old characters of mine, and work through their backstories a little bit, though that wasn't my main focus here. I know that this is mainly supposed to be a Warrior Cats channel, but I don't actually have that many old Warrior Cats OCs, at least not with a backstory or anything interesting about them, so these will actually be old characters from a series I tried to make about 5 years ago, which isn't too long, but I think I've had pretty considerable improvement in that time. I also apologize if at any point I sound weird or if there's some noise in the background that didn't get edited out or the audio is weird or I don't say stuff right. This is my first time doing a voiceover thing, so that's my bad. And contrary to popular belief, I do actually live in a house, and there are also other people in my house. So sometimes there's noise. And without further ado, first up on our list is Amibua. He was the main character of the series and has many animations and art of him compared to the other characters because of this. But most of these have been lost simply because I would make and delete things a lot due to my phone at the time not having a bunch of storage, which is also why you won't see many drawings of the other characters. I'll try to remember what I can about the plot here, though I might be a bit fuzzy on the details, especially since younger me didn't even write most of it down. So, from my memory, I believe there were wolves with magic and wolves without. All was fine in this world, but gradually the wolves without magic became more and more bitter that they were powerless, and they started a war. It went on, and though the powerful wolves had an advantage in ability, the wolves without had an advantage in numbers. And slowly but surely, the wolves with magic were wiped out. And in an unpredictable turn of events, our main character here, Amibua, was a wolf with magic. Though, in this redesign, I decided to turn him into a fox instead, since younger me had already taken quite the inspiration from foxes for his overall design. His older brother, who we will get to in a minute, has also been changed to a fox, which works better for his design too. Spoiler alert though, his brother does end up dying when they're still fairly young, but Amibua is almost fully grown at this point, which is actually how the first episode was meant to start, with Amibua looking for him. The reason I bring this up currently is because I think at the end of the first episode, he was going to be visited by his brother's ghost, and his brother gave him this moon necklace that was meant to, unleash his powers. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Amibua wasn't aware he had magic, which I'm not sure how that was meant to work. Like, the way I set it up, the magic they got was genetic, and he may not have known that he had powers until later because I think they only got them once they had matured, but even then, what was the necklace for? If they got these powers through genetics, why would he need a necklace to use them? Maybe I'm misremembering, maybe it was just his brother's necklace and he just so happened to get his powers after receiving it. Either way, if I were to remake the series now, I would probably keep in that the powers were genetic and potentially the necklace simply enhanced them, making him stronger, which would be useful considering he was going to be hunted down for having them and might need to put up quite the fight in order to survive. I would also probably not have his brother's ghost give him the necklace, instead having him just, take it from his corpse as something to remember him by, and then only later finding out it made him more powerful, perhaps by losing it in battle and then struggling to do magic the same. Design-wise, I don't actually have many problems with him. Of course, I've already made a change to his species, but marking-wise, it's not that bad. I decided to change the shades as I'm just personally not a fan of the brightly colored coat nowadays. Not that there's anything wrong with it, I just prefer more neutral colors. I think this more orangey brown makes him more fox-like anyway, and I changed the brown to be a darker red tint. I thought the stripes on his tail were fine, but a bit oddly shaped, and decided it looked better with a mostly solid brown tail, moving his stripes to his rump and only doing two, as I wanted him to still look mostly normal, since that was a plot point I'll get to later. The only other notable thing I changed was I made his eye color green instead of brown, again, to make him look more like a fox. I know they do typically have brown eyes, just let me get away with this, it looks better in my opinion. Shh! And on his brother's design, he had one brown and one green eye, and since I want to cut down on the heterochromia a bit, it just makes things easier for them to have the same eye color. With that, Amabua's new design is done. I think it's a huge improvement from his original, even if not that much was changed. After much talk of him, it's time for Amibua's brother, Carlubi. And God, that's a bad name. And names aside, I do quite like his character. You'll notice he's got a lot more unrealistic features than Amibua. And this wasn't without reason. There was something about the magic wolves sometimes appearing different, and in Carlubi's case, he had spikes, long ears, and a tail with a puff at the end. However, in the original, Carlubi only had the appearance of a magical animal, but one of their parents had powers and one did not. So when they went after Amibua and Carlubi, they were more focused on Carlubi since he had the appearance, when in reality, that's all he had, and was not actually magical at all. I'm not really a fan of this, and since there's no real reason for that to be the case, other than the drama of them accidentally killing an animal that was one of them, I think it would honestly probably make more sense if he was simply less powerful, which would also give him a reason to own the necklace in the first place. Bam boom bop, it's all coming together, sorta. One thing about his original design that literally only I would ever know had it not been for this video is that the gray spots at the end of his cheeks were actually supposed to be spikes. Which goes to show that I did not understand how fur worked, nor how to translate spikes. Needless to say, I tried to make that a little more clear in the redesign. I also decided to give him 3 more spikes down his back, as well as a little mohawk mane, because I thought it was nice, and when paired with Amibua's little scruff on his head, it also kinda, worked together a bit. And I'm also obsessed with drawing them, and nobody can stop me. If it wasn't kind of obvious already, this was ever so slightly based off of Wolf Song by Thunder Catherine, and if you've seen Wolf Song, you might just recognize the 3 dots that Alador had under his cheek, which I stole and put on Carlubi, as well as a ton of other characters I made just because I liked them that much, I guess. Anyway, I decided to turn them into an under-eye patch just on one side of his face. And to match Amibua and compensate for the stripes that I took away from his inner ear, I decided to give him some stripes on his back legs that went down his tail, which I think turned out looking really good. And as I was writing the script, I realized that I've drawn them interacting, but Amibua already has the necklace, which would imply that Carlubi's dead at this point. But it doesn't really matter, we're just gonna ignore that. It also may be worth mentioning that he took the longest to draw, taking nearly double the time as everyone else, but I think it was well worth it, and I absolutely adore his new design, and I hope that you do too. So before I ramble on forever, here is Carlubi's new design. Of all of the designs that I remade in this video, Carlubi's has actually got to be my favorite. He was already pretty different from the other characters to begin with, but I mean, I really like the stripes that I added, and just the look of him in general. And we're moving on to Ravi. So from this point on, it's going to be interesting because while the rest of the characters I chose to redesign were still important to the plot, I didn't really draw them or give them any backstory at all. So for the next few characters, I'll probably be focusing on the design to start, and then maybe trying to give them a bit of story so they feel like a little bit more than what they were. Anyway, our first and only character here today that was originally anything but a wolf, and I do actually hate Ravi's design. There's nothing inherently wrong with it on its own, but I just tried to make it so much more realistic than the rest of them. And I mean, I understand why. I was inexperienced with drawing rabbits and wanted to make him look more like one, but with how unrealistic the rest of the designs were, he's just completely out of place. So I probably should have at least tried to do something more cartoonish, but I did not, so I digress. Not to mention I gave him floppy ears, even though he was meant to be a wild rabbit, which was also probably a skill issue in the most literal sense, but still kind of bothers me, because I mean, wild rabbits just can't have floppy ears, so I failed completely in making him look like a wild rabbit. As you can see in the speed paint, I was actually struggling a lot to get his posture right, so I guess I still can't draw rabbits for the life of me. But eventually I looked up some references, which I probably should have done from the start, and I managed to get his pose pretty accurate, I think. So essentially Ravi's role in the story was he was just their father figure, And I mean, I don't really remember much of how they met, but I think the gist of it was they were trying to hunt something for their first time, and he was all scared because he's a rabbit and there's predators trying to eat him. But he realized that they were very young and they were alone, and he felt pity towards them, and I guess he just went, "Hey guys, stop that. If you don't eat me, I'll take care of you." So I guess they're vegetarians now. No. I'm just goofing. I'm just joking around. I'm just being silly. I think there was something in there about them like hunting on the side because they kind of need to survive. But they did eat berries most of the time since that's what their dad ate. But honestly, I don't think a rabbit would really feel pity on a fox just because it was a bit younger seeming. And yeah, this is a story about wolves and now foxes with magic. And so, does the rabbit have to realistically behave? No. But, honestly, I don't think a rabbit would take pity on an animal that was trying to eat it. Maybe he thought he could take the predator population down. I don't know, this isn't my story. I'm definitely not writing it. Maybe he thought they could protect him. They are foxes. They do have magic. I'm sure they could just fire blast anyone they wanted to away at any moment. They definitely know how to use their powers. Whew, but anyway, with that, I think he might be done. Presenting new Ravi. I did actually have some fun making his design. He is pretty cute. But he is still the bane of my existence, so bye-bye now, Ravi. And hello to the state boy himself, Arkanass. Jokes aside, we've got another bad name situation. I mean, I like the name Arkanass, but I could have spelt it significantly less like Arkansas. He's actually meant to be the main villain in the story. You can tell because he has a skull in his eye. And with a name like that, I don't really blame him for wanting to kill so many people. He was in fact the wolf that directed the troll that killed Amibua Carlubi's parents, and later Carlubi. I do like him, but I feel like I didn't really give him any motive, like, at all. Obviously there's the jealousy aspect, which was all the motivation I gave him at the time, and he was never described to have any other motivation. But, like, is a little jealousy enough to kill hundreds of animals? Really? I mean, maybe, but I just, it doesn't feel like enough. He was also probably taught growing up that this is what they deserve, so we can add societal pressure and encouragement for these actions. Maybe his pack even had some crazy story for how these animals began getting the magic, which certainly sounds and is insane, but after being told it so many times growing up, surely it must be true. At least that's what he would think after being told it so many times growing up. I also decided it made more sense to give him a few scars. Not sure why I didn't do that to begin with, since some of the other characters already had some, but either way, he has them now. One thing I like about his design is the tail I gave him. I don't think I'll give it to all the wolves, but it does look pretty cool. I'm also almost positive it's inspired off of the skin from Wildcraft, but you know what, he can keep it. I did only make his tail 4 sections instead of 5. I'll say it was because I liked it with just 4 colors better, but really it was a mistake and I'm not going to fix it, so, you know. He is actually probably my favorite of the original designs though. There's just, I don't know what it is. I think it's the colors I chose. It just looks a lot more aesthetically pleasing than the others in my opinion. He also has like a wife and kids, but they're not really important to the story, so I'm just gonna leave him out for now. Of all the designs, I think I do actually like his body structure the best. I like his longer clumpy fur that goes down to about the middle of his stomach, his bigger snout, his little eyebrows, and then also his slightly short but a bit bulkier at the shoulder legs. That I just like drawing them like that, I guess. So I think that concludes Arkanass. Anyways, I do hope you liked his design, because I certainly do, and that'd be kind of weird if I was the only one who liked it. I mean, not to sound too confident in my designing skills, but I mean, I do think it came out pretty good, and that would be kind of weird if of the hopefully an okay few amount of people that watched this, if I was the only one that liked it out of this hopeful amount of people, at least 20, then, I mean, I don't know. That would just, I mean, if you don't like it, then you don't like it. I mean, that's fine. You cannot like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to, oh, okay. fight. And our final victim of the day is Jamie. She's our only girl character here today, and I couldn't really tell you why that is, honestly. I don't think it was intentional, though I do believe I was still in my I'm not like other girls phase at this point. So maybe that was why. She was the only main character Little Me made that was a girl, and she very unfortunately fell down the trope in this story of only here because I need somebody for the main male character to date, which I would definitely like to stray away from. To put it bluntly, if I tried to put this story through the Bechdel test, it would not pass. She did have a little smidgen of personality, being the cool and strong girl type. I remember the first scene that her and Amibua had met in, I had fully written, and basically her and her dad were chasing Amibua and Ravi because they wanted to eat Ravi. Fun fact, rabbits are actually really small sources of food for wolves, especially since they were trying to feed an entire pack, so I'm not sure why they were so set on getting this rabbit. But anyways, Amibua backflipped up a tree. Don't ask me how, he's a fox now, which almost explains it. And for some reason they were still adamant that they needed the rabbit and were barking at him to hand Ravi over. This somehow led to Amibua heading with them back to their pack to semi-join them because he was so flustered by this girl demanding that she needed to eat his dad. It would probably be too big of and a rather unnecessary change for her and Amibua to just not get together in the first place. But I do think she would have benefited from a little more reluctance. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe when they had met trying to hunt Ravi, after hearing Amibua's reasoning for not wanting them to kill him, she was pretty immediate and, "Aw, come on, Dad, can you please just stay with us for a little while?" When I think her character realistically would have been just as skeptical as her father, and they would only have let him stay with them because he did truly seem desperate and scared. Though they would have let him in with strict rules, and Jamie likely would have avoided him for some time before slowly beginning to trust him. I've decided she makes a better husky than a wolf, especially with her homophobic eyes. So, yep, she's a husky now. I said so. I'm realizing now I've changed more of these species than kept the original, but oh well. Little me should have been better at designing wolves. Her being a husky actually is good for a few reasons. First off, I have an excuse to turn her dad into a cinnamon husky if I do this again. Secondly, it would give her and the rest of her pack a reason to not care about the magic animals like the others do, which is important later, since they aren't really wild animals, so they may not have been told the same stories the others were. Though I'm not sure how I'd work around humans in this mess. Probably just the old, they're extinct now. You'll notice she also got Alador spot disease, but I fixed that, and I think I actually maybe changed her a lot more than I intended to. It's not my fault if she was too far gone from the beginning though. With that, I think our strong, independent dog is done. I think our design changing the most really helped her. She needed saving, and saving I think I did, I hope. And that was the last of them. I really hope you enjoyed my tiny little toe dip into longer form videos. I also apologize if I was annoying at any point during this. I tried to be funny. Not sure if it worked. May have just come off as me being annoying. But you know, that's how it is. That's how it goes. While it was an absolute pain to have to re-record myself saying the same thing over and over and over again at times, I would consider doing it again if demands are high enough. I do have a lot more characters from this series, most of which were entirely unnecessary, and some from other stories with actual stuff written down that needs some new looks if anyone did want me to do something like this again. Hint hint, wink wink. I hope you've all had fantastic days and that maybe I can make it just a little brighter, even if you simply listen to this in the background. See you next time! So, what was I gonna say? So without further ado, is written down, but I released that earlier. But I believe that is it for Arkanass. What? No, it's not. It's not it for Arkanass. What are you talking about? I mean, it is. What? What am I doing? Why are we still here? Just to suffer. Where we at? there was some absorption of... Absorption? Is that how you say that word? Absorption? Yeah, that's, I mean, I think that's right. That's a weird word. And then maybe try to give them a little bit of story. And then maybe try to give them a little bit of story, so... And then maybe try to give them a little bit of story, so they feel... What? And then maybe... And then maybe try to give them a little bit of story, so they feel more like... What? What? I was... I was not... What? And then maybe try to give them a bit... And then maybe try to give them a bit of story, so... And then maybe try to give them... And then maybe try and give them a bit of story, so they feel... Ah! Headphones gone. Oh god, please tell me I recorded that. Though, in this redesign, I decided to turn him into a fox instead, since younger me had taken quite the inspiration from foxes in his redesign. Now, though younger me did not think up the redesign before this. Oh god. Oh god. Oh, the bloopers I pushed to the back of the thing because I never thought the audio would make it this far. They're resurging. Oh no. Okay, they're gone. The bloopers. They will no longer haunt me.